afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is New Vision for Life. This is our very first podcast, broadcast, whatever it is that you'd like to call it. My name is Michael. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Rania.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about a subject that has been around for a long time, but is relatively new to most folks, and that's the subject of iridology. You can see these, what I have on the screen here. We've got an iridology chart. We have a segment here for the right eye, and then we have a segment here for the left eye. Now, what these are essentially saying to us is there's certain parts of the eye that correspond to specific parts of the body. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's very accurate. And we're operating on Dr. Morse's and Dr. Johnson's.
Dr. Bernard Jensen right here.
Yeah.
So this is his chart. He's kind of the pioneer of iridology. So where we can get started here is, here we have the pupil of the eye. Then we break it out.
Before we're going to start it, maybe we're going to say, what is iridology? Because not everybody knows what is that. So iridology is a science. This is not something what just pop up. There were doctors who work on that for a long time. So basically, iridology is one of the man's greatest tool of observation into the human body. So everything what you can see in the eyes is basically mirror viewing into your body.
Well said. So where should we start? Here's the pupil, basically. And then as we work our way out of the pupil, we have an area of the stomach region. We'll show you an eye so everybody can kind of get a good idea of what we're looking at. And then we have the colons, the transverse colons, just out beyond that. And then we start moving into some of the organ areas into the body, and that continues to stretch out as the iris grows out. So what we're looking for when we're looking at an eye is we're looking at the lines. We're looking at if there's any craters, which we call lacunas. We're looking for stagnations.
Also genetics, eyes showing us genetics. If you have good genetics or weak genetics, we can see this. And going back to the zones, we have 7 zones into the chart. So the first one is the stomach, then and the second one is intestines. Yes, and the third one is endocrine, kidney, heart. Fourth one is reproductive, skeletal. 5 is liver. 6 is blood and lymph nodes, and 7 is skin and lungs.
So everything kind of breaks out from the pupil out to the outer portions of the eye here. Your skin is on the very outside here, and then you work your way back in the 7 zones, as Rania had just mentioned.
And also, very important thing is that everybody understand that it's only 2 real color of the iris. It's blue and light brown. If you have any different color than blue or light brown, that means that your body is basically very toxic, acidic, and this is showing into your iris.
Yeah, to further that point, anybody who has green eyes, they have a lot of stagnation. They really have a blue eye underneath the green. But as we talk about stagnation, we have acute, subacute, and chronic. Acute is kind of more of a white color. Subacute is yellow. So you add that yellow to a blue eye, you're going to get the color of green, yeah. And that's why there's the appearance of green eyes. And we're going to show you an example of that. I myself put down hazel eyes, my driver's license, and anytime I'm asked the color of my eyes, but when in fact I actually have blue eyes. We're going to show you this, but we're going to use my eyes as an example because I've led a life of decadence, for a lack of a better term. So it's a really great example to, number one, show you how toxic a body can be. I do have a toxic body. We've been detoxing for 2.5 years now. And as you go through this process, you will be able to see some improvements in the eye, and we're going to try to show that as well. So I'm going to flip over. We're going to look at the left eye. You can see on these two irises here, we're still on the lymphatic chart by Dr. Bernard Jensen. You can see that they kind of mirror each other. We've got a thyroid here in the left eye and a thyroid here in the right eye. Liver. This is the spine coming down through here. There are some differences between the eyes in terms of where you might be looking for specific organs, but for the most part, they're very similar.
Yeah, just a few difference. So basically, most of like two irises are basically mirror viewing, excluding few things.
Okay, so we're going to flip over here real quick. So this is my eye. So what we're looking at here, yeah, pretty awesome eye. So what we're looking at here is
that's already. Let me tell you this, guys. This is iris after 2 eyes detoxification. Not very hard though, but detoxification. So he was able to rid a lot of things what was bothering him, like allergy.
So primarily what we're looking at here in this portion of my eye, we took some eye photos a little over a year ago down in Florida, where we studied iridology from the doctor that taught us, and he had taken some pictures, and we'll show you these pictures as well. But in this area here, I've probably seen the most improvement, and this is kind of the brain and head and shoulders area. So what we're looking at here is just a lot of toxicity. You can see that I've got a lot of chronic toxation, a lot of chronic lymph stagnation in certain parts. This is the head and brain area. So if we go back to that chart, we will show you the cerebrum. So what we're looking at here is we've got, I can't even read that. So we got the head and brain area up in here, and a lot of sinuses right up in here. And you can see it. This is where most of my stagnation is located. You can see these long brown dark lines are radii solaris. That's toxicities that's actually being channeled from my intestines and stomach up into my brain area.
And that's the place when parasites are living, basically.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of stagnation in the head and neck area, my stomach, and the gastrointestinal wall. You can see kind of this pattern right here. This is your wall right here. You can see all the stagnation I have in my gut. When you start detoxing and working to clean yourself out, this is where you want to start. You want to start in your stomach and your gastrointestinal area, because as you look at eyes from children to younger kids to middle-aged to older, everything kind of starts right in this area here.
Yeah, so I was able to take several iris pictures so far, and the main problem what people are facing is GI tract. This is the worst, and doesn't matter if the baby is 9 months old or 5 years old or 15 or adult like 60 or 30, doesn't matter. Everybody has a problem with GI tract.
Everybody, and that's from the diet that we're living on. We're eating a
and
lot
also we're getting from genetics, right?
Yep, genetics is also a portion of that. So, the standard American diet, if you're living in the United States, that's been going on for 60 years now, and that's passed on from one kin to the next, and then it keeps growing. That's why we're seeing a lot more babies being born with cancer and other diseases, because the genetic for lack of the genetic weaknesses are passing on from one generation to the next. So we're becoming sicker and sicker and sicker.
Yeah, that's true. And I took a few examples like generation, like baby, mother and father and grandparents. So guess who has the worst irises? The baby.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to have the best because they're living only a few months or a few years on the planet Earth, right? So they didn't get chance to destroy their body that much like grandparents, for example. But to be honest with you, every, younger generation has worse eyes that the older generation. That's
Yeah,
what I'm noticing.
Rainey just took some photos of a baby yesterday, and it's amazing. We were going through his eyes earlier today, and he's already how old was how many months old
9 months.
9 months old, and the baby already had acute stagnation throughout all of his gastrointestinal tract after 9 months. So, he didn't just develop that magically. That was passed on from his parents.
Yeah, and also unfortunately, the mother has a C-section, so that adds a lot of toxins on top of genetics.
Yeah. So what we're able to do, we're just going to highlight a few key points here, and then move on into more detail and some further podcasts. But what we're going to do here is just outline some of what you're seeing here. So we pointed out the radii solaris here. It's kind of a transport of toxins from the gut up into the brain area. We have very large drug deposits here. This is from pharmaceuticals or maybe different drugs that I may have taken earlier in my life. When I was a kid, I had pneumonia. I had a lot of broken bones, so I was in the hospital a lot, and I was on a lot of different medications,
Yeah, like antibiotics, right?
antibiotics. So these typically show up in specific regions in the eyes. You can see these blue circles here. These are what you call nerve rings. This is in your central nervous system. And these rings are passing through as specific organs and creating problems within those organs, different stresses and toxicity levels.
Yeah, and the nerve rings are strictly correlated with adrenals. Weak adrenals specifically because when you have a weak adrenals, then you have nerve rings. This is how it's showing in your irises. And as you can see here on the picture, um, the indication that Michael has blue eyes, it's exactly blue rings.
Yep.
Okay, they're very blue. So that's the indication that he has blue irises. Not the only one for us because we study this, so we know a little bit more. But whoever don't have experience with reading irises, when someone sees the blue rings, that means that the person has blue irises.
Yeah, it's pretty clear here. And just another note, as another kind of indication that this isn't naturally occurring, this color here, is we're taught that there's only three colors of eyes: blue, green, and brown. Never is there anything mentioned about a dark orange or a yellow eye. So we know that this is not a naturally occurring phenomenon when you're born. You're not going to be born with a yellow or an orange eye, unless you've got some toxicities or genetic weaknesses being passed on. So I just wanted to point that out.
And with time, during the detoxification, this orange sulfur will gonna disappear. So Michael used to have much more in the irises.
Yeah, right in here, right in this area. My eyes were so bad that you couldn't even see my stomach lining in here. It was much
Yeah.
like it is right up here. You can't even see into the stomach area. That's how much toxicity I had.
Yeah.
And I actually cleared up quite a bit up in this area and into this area. So it can be done.
So this is the small intestines area.
Yeah, small intestine area, right in through here. So you see how backed up and how clogged up they were with toxicities. And toxicities from the food come from eating foods that we as humans aren't supposed to eat. So a lot of meat, a lot of complex sugars, starches. All of these foods are
Grains, right?
are not necessarily meant for humans to digest on a regular basis, much less 3 times a day. So with that, I think we're just gonna bring this to a close. We just wanted to come in and give you a brief highlight of what a really toxic eye looks like. I'm glad that I can share that with everybody, what my eyes look like. They're going to be better than some of our clients. Everybody's got different toxicity level.
Yep.
We've seen some clients that have very little toxicity, and we're working with them to clear that up, and others who have eyes that are similar to mine. So it varies upon individual, but
Yeah. But even if he has a lot of work in front of him in the future, the very good thing is that he has pretty good genetics, and
Yeah.
you can show how
When
you can see the genetics.
when we're talking about genetics, we're talking about these trabeculi here. So what we want to see in a constitution is these lines want to be close together. The further these lines are apart, the worse the constitution is,
Yes.
and the less likely you're going to be able to live a longer life and overcome any kind of diseases or any problems that you might be experiencing. So you can see that I've got relatively close trabeculas. A couple of spots here where you do see these wide spots. That means I've got some tissue and genetic weaknesses in these areas, and that these areas need to be fixed up and worked on. You can see right here. Yeah, we do that through prescription of herbs for specific tissues to help build those back up. But from a real high level view, this is what an eye looks like. This is what a drug deposit looks like. We've got heavy stagnation up in here. We've got the GI tract that's heavily stagnated. And then we've got nerve rings, and then so a lot of other issues going on in my eyes to really, we can spend several different podcasts just going through my eye and discussing all of the issues. But at a real high level, we wanted to share with you and point out some of the different details. And should you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time, and we'll have another podcast here for you shortly, creating maybe a before and after, or sharing another eye and going a little bit more in depth in that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you very much. See you next time.